Hello everyone. Previous class we had discussed about optical microscope, scanning electron microscope, transmission electron microscope, as well as X-ray diffraction methods of characterization techniques. So today we will end our class by the remaining characterization techniques. Those are uh, AFM, atomic force microscope, SPM, scanning probe microanalyzer, EPMA, that is electron probe microanalyzer. So here we'll start with the first part of your today's class, that is atomic force microscope. In construction, this is very simple. Basically, it comprises of a cantilever tip which will move on a particular surface where the topographical image is to be generated of the particular of a surface. Here, a laser is used which will reflect on the cantilever beam, reflect from the cantilever beam, and will be recorded on the photodiode. The movement of the laser reflected back from the cantilever beam is recorded by the motion or the light falling on a photodiode, or the position of light falling on the photodiode. The position determines the surface topography. Basically, whatever surface imperfections or whatever surface topographical image is there, that will be directly reflected on the photodiode in the form of a laser. So this diode sends the signals to the detector, which will generate a graph based on the laser recorded. As you can see here, if the position of the laser will be somewhere in this direction, we can say we can have a crater kind of surface, and whenever the laser it will be in this direction, we can say that we have humps in the surface. So based on a particular surface, uh, we can get a particular image by combining all the graphs generated. A single line of movement of the cantilever tip generates a single graph, and this continuously goes on till a particular surface is scanned continuously. Basically, this kind of process is a contact kind of arrangement. Here also, by slight modification, we can have non-contact kind of arrangement also, but in certain cases this process uses contact surface. That means the cantilever tip touches the surface so as we can generate a topographical image of the component or a sample. So it consists of a cantilever with a sharp tip. The tip usually will be in nanometers. It is basically made up of silicon or silicon nitride, so that we can have a very hard and brittle tip, so that there should not be any wear of that tip. Forces between the tip and the sample lead to the deflection of the cantilever, according to Hooke's law. So the measurement of force basically will be directly by the movement of the cantilever tip itself in contact mode. In certain cases where non-contact kind of arrangement is used, there, there van der Waals forces are used. Basically, van der Waals forces are weak, short-range electrostatic attractive forces between unchanged molecules, arising from the interaction of permanent or transient electric dipole moments. There are three kinds of imaging techniques used in this process. That is, first one is contact mode, as we had discussed earlier. Contact mode is used when the tip of the cantilever will be touching the surface while scanning the image. This kind of phenomenon possesses some kind of problems. First one is, in certain cases, if the surface mm, is coated with any other material which is not removable, that also possesses a threat of imaging, or a wrong image is formed uh, in the monitor. Because of this, because of this kind of problem, we will be using non-contact type of imaging mode. In non-contact type of imaging mode, uh, the cantilever will be held at a particular position from the surface, or you can say it is held at a particular distance from the surface. So cantilever does not contact the sample surface. The cantilever is instead will be used at a particular current. So that current at a particular position will be considered as zero. So whenever there the movement of cantilever or the surface will be there, due to the closeness and farness of the cantilever tip from the surface of the sample, the change in van der Waals forces, or the electric current generated takes place, or current flow takes place. This change can be recorded in the form of the depths or craters, um, or the humps in the surface. So based on the current variation, we can generate a topographical image. The decrease in resonance frequency combined with the feedback loop system maintains a constant oscillating amplitude and frequency, and that frequency changes as the tip moves near or moves away from the surface. Basically, the phenomenon is that when the surface is near, we will be having higher amount of forces, or higher amount of current induced into the mechanism. And whenever the two tips, that is tip as well as the sample, are at a higher distance, the induced van der Waals forces or current is lesser. So this kind of non-contact mode is used for biological samples and organic thin films. As in contact mode, there is another threat that it might disrupt the surface while scanning the component itself. So, next mode is tapping mode. So one disadvantage of sticking of non-sticking of the component, or the tip of that cantilever to the surface, so that correct image is not generated. To solve this kind of problem, we will be using tapping mode. So in ambient conditions, most samples develop a liquid viscous layer, which I had just now told, preventing the tip from sticking to the surface to measure actual surface. In tapping mode, the cantilever is driven to oscillate up and down at or near the resonating frequency. Oscillation is commonly achieved with a small piezo element in the cantilever holder. So this piezo element will be provided with certain amount of power, that is electricity, so that it can vibrate at a particular frequency. So the amplitude of oscillation usually varies from several nanometers to 100 nanometers, or 200 nanometers. Between that range, it will vibrate. So other possibilities include an AC magnetic field with magnetic cantilevers, piezoelectric cantilevers, or periodic heating with modular laser beam. Applications of AFM are usually virtually any surface can be scanned, whether it is insulator, whether it is conductor, whether it is non-conductor, organic, biological materials. Any kind of surface can be scanned. Unique tool for assessment of living and dead cells in a nanoscale. Limitations include non-practical to make measurements on areas greater than 100 nanometers. As I've explained, each and every surface is divided into particular area, and that area is scanned in a single line of contact. One line is scanned. Like that, parallelly many lines are to be scanned, so that a particular image is to be generated. This will consume much more time. Because of this, it is not practical to use it for particular surfaces where the greater areas are there. Smaller areas can be used for this application. Limited scanning speed, requiring several minutes for a typical scan. Images can be affected by non-linearity hysteresis and a creep of the piezoelectric material, possibly of image artifacts. So, whenever non-linearity hysteresis is nothing but lack of physical property. In simple sense, if you want to tell about this, if slight amount of heat is induced in a cantilever, that cantilever will behave differently, or move in a slightly different manner, which will also generate the images in a wrongly manner. An AFM image does not reflect the true shape of topography, but rather represents the interaction of a probe with a sample surface. And this is a problem whenever exact surface is to be topographed, where vertical surface, whenever a certain sudden fall in the surface is there, that is not shown exact vertical in the image. Instead, it will be shown as a inclined surface. So that variation will be there whenever we are using this kind of technique for measurement or character. Now we'll see an animated video of atomic force microscope. You can see the probe. On that probe, laser light is impinged, that is reflected back on the photodiode. So the movement of laser on the photodiode determines the surface topography here. You can see in that video also. So each and every surface, bit of surface is scanned individually. This is tapping mode kind of arrangement where continuous tapping will be generated by the piezoelectric effect on the cantilever, and constant surface mode here. The tip is maintained at a particular distance from the surface, where change in electricity or van der Waals forces will in uh, result in the change in the surface area. Now we will see the physical image of atomic force microscope, or the physical equipment. Now the probe has been installed in the equipment. So this is the setup of the equipment. It is very compact in construction. The probe is placed in position of the equipment. The setup is linked with the software, where the probe is to be positioned in line with the crosshair, which is now they are placing a sample which is to be analyzed. Basically, this is a metallic sample. The lid of equipment is closed so that we can analyze the image. So this pointer should align with the crosshair, so that initial position is of that the pointer is to be set. So after setting everything, the process starts by generating a graph while moving the probe on the surface. You can see the movement of the probe as well as the graph is being generated. I was talking about the problem with AFM. The limitation of AFM is whenever the surface directly reduces, there the probe is measured, the probe will be measuring the sample surface slightly tapered. This is the problem with the AFM process. You can see the images generated, topographical images generated on the component, on the monitor, based on the graphs generated here. This completes AFM. Next, we will move on to scanning probe microscope. In construction, this is also compact as compared with AFM. Here, it uses a piezoelectric tube connected to a particular tip, which is manufactured by using silicon-based materials itself. Basically, it is hard, and the sample in this condition should be a conductive kind of element, so that we can measure the surface topography by using the current induced between the 2 points, that is surface as well as the pointer. The process remains similar to AFM, as the pointer in this case touches the surface, and we have the two kinds of arrangements here. In one kind of process where it is called as constant interaction mode, where the component or the surface is touching the probe, and the second one is constant height mode, where the tip is maintained at a constant height, and change in electric electrons, movement of electrons, can be visualized. Working is very simple. You can see here there are certain forces set up between this tip as well as the as well as this surface. Whatever whatever the shape and size of this atoms are there, those are reflected in the display by processing it through the processing unit. So current is passed to the piezoelectric tube, which will allow the movement of the tip, and and in certain cases the tip is moving in x as well as y direction. In certain cases, sample is allowed to move in x and y direction. So when the changes in the forces are determined, that is amplified by using tunneling current amplifier, and that is recorded in the scanning unit, and the scanning unit produces an image which will be displayed on the data processing and the display unit. First one is constant interaction mode. In this process, here a feedback loop is used to physically move the probe closer to or further from the surface to maintain constant interaction. Differential gain has to be set to 0. Differential gain pertains to the differences in forces when the component is to be recorded. The Z position of the tip is recorded periodically and displayed as a heat map. Heat map is nothing but the topographical image of the component in the form of different colors. That is, red possesses higher level, and blue possesses lower level. Between that, the color variation will be there. Next one is constant height mode. Here, as we have learnt in AFM, the probe is maintained at a particular distance from the surface. So the probe is not moved in the Z axis during the raster scan. Instead, the value of the interaction under study is recorded. This recorded information is displayed as a heat map. So constant height imaging is much more difficult than constant interaction imaging, as the probe is much more likely to crash into the sample surface, because it is hard to determine at what distance the initial sample should be kept from the tip, so that while movement of the surface, there should not be any interaction of the tip as well as the surface of the specimen. Piezoelectric creep and can also be a problem. Generally, piezoelectricity generates a slight amount of heat which will induce into the probe itself. Due to this, expansion and contraction also is getting affected. Slight amount of expansion also affects in nano level, and when the component is being measured in nanometers, there will be drastic differences in the images. So microscope often needs time to settle after large movements before constant height imaging can be performed. The limitations include the detailed shape of scan tip is sometimes difficult to determine. Here also the imaging size is limited to particular size, maybe 100 nanometers of area, which because of the limited measurement technique, which will uh, limit the determination of the surface because of the slow speeds. The scanning techniques are generally slower, just now I've told, while acquiring the images. The maximum image size is generally smaller. Scanning probe microscope is often not useful for examining buried solid or solid liquid interfaces or liquid liquid interfaces, because the forces generated between the tip as well as the surface are very important and in measuring the surface here. Now we will see an animated image of how uh, uh, scanning probe microscopy is.
How does a STM work? The minute size of atoms requires special microscopes to study their properties. Optical microscopes don't have the required resolution. This deficiency is due to the use of light to image small structures. We use a scanning tunneling microscope instead. This microscope achieves its unsurpassed spatial resolution by exploiting the quantum physical phenomenon of tunneling of electrons. If the tip of the microscope is positioned very close to the sample, a current of electrons flows, which depends dramatically on the distance between tip and sample. Image acquisition via STM. The scanning tunneling microscope exploits this dependence of the tunnel current on the tip sample distance to obtain height profiles of the sample. To this end, the tip is scanned line by line over the surface of the sample, and the tunnel current is measured. If the scanning tip encounters a step on the surface, the tunnel current increases due to the smaller distance between tip and sample. A sequence of line scans provides an image of the topography of the sample. Imaging atoms. The high resolution can be used to image individual atoms in the surface plane of the sample. We resolved the atomic structure of a copper crystal. Our images reveal that the copper surface can be modeled as a closed packed arrangement of hard spheres, which are spaced at a distance of 0.22 nanometers. Imaging electron density variations. Varying background. Typical modulation lengths are of the order of 1 nanometer, 5 times as long as atomic distances, and they're due to variations of the electron density within a surface. The tunnel current depends also on the electron density of the sample. Therefore, investigations of the electronic properties are possible. We study how the electron density varies due to electron scattering processes. We observe a wave-like modulation pattern of the electron density. Its characteristics are described by the laws of quantum physics.
Here, scanning tunneling microscope is referred as a scanning probe microscope, so there should not be any confusion in this. The last part in this module is electron probe microanalyzer. In comparison with the scanning electron microscope, the construction of this equipment is slightly similar, and the working process is also similar to each other. We'll discuss the image over here. So primary electrons are generated from the electron probe, which will impinge on the specimen. So backscattered electrons are generated, which we have already seen in scanning electron microscopy, are detected by the scanning coils. So energy dispersive X-ray detector is also present here, which will detect the emitted X-rays from the surface. And next one, the characteristics X-ray, which are reflected back from the electron or emitted back from the electrons, primary electrons, are also recorded in the X-ray detector. This kind of process is basically used for determination of the contents of the particular component or a specimen. So an electron probe microanalyzer is a microbeam instrument used primarily for the in situ non-destructive chemical analysis. So any kind of component, if chemical composition is to be determined, this can be used. It is fundamentally same as SEM with added capabilities of chemical analysis. Operates under the principle that if a solid material is bombarded by an accelerated and focused electron beam, the incident electron beam has sufficient energy to liberate both matter and energy from the sample. So these electron sample interactions mainly liberate heat, but they also yield both directive electrons and X-rays. Applications of this microanalyzer we had discussed, that is chemical analysis of geological materials at a small scale. Widely used for analysis of synthetic materials such as optical wafers, thin films, microcircuits, semiconductors, and semiconducting ceramics. Limitations include electron probe and unable to detect the largest elements, that is He and lithium, helium, hydrogen, and lithium. Uh, Probe analyzer also cannot distinguish between the different valence states of Fe. So these are some of the limitations. So we have reached the end of our module. In next class we will start with the different module.